All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is review and accept the financial report through February. Do I have a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is a recap of the allocation process.
So we concluded the allocation process last month in March, and typically at the April meeting, we would just give members the opportunity to kind of bring up if they have concerns or questions about the process, or if they had any changes they wanted to propose for next year. This isn't your last opportunity to make those changes. It's just kind of our formal conversation, but you are always free to email or call and let us know if you have changes, recommendations. And if there's a general feeling among the group that lots of changes need to be made, the chair always has the option of appointing a subcommittee to talk about that. So with that, if anybody has anything they want me to take down.
Yes, Chris.
I would recommend that when grant applications are received, that incomplete ones are tossed. I have a real problem with funding an agency just because they turn in a few pages that, they rushed through.
Okay.
I was really disappointed with the quality of a couple of the applications, and one, even after they were given the opportunity to complete, didn't really do it, and they still got funded.
It's a group, your discussion to have. I'm sorry, I
Dale?
leave it to you to weigh in.
And I agree with Chris, but then do you say, okay, if there's 2 items missing, do you say if there's 3? I mean, it has to be subjective. And so although I think the scoring system is as fair as it can be, the one thing I might like to see is a little bit more subjective at the end, or objective, how you get up to 5 extra points or whatever it is that you can. And that might be because there were some that I thought had excellent applications. And we have to remember that we're scoring the application, not the organization. And that's kind of hard, other than to not say where it's from. It's pretty hard to do that, but maybe to have an extra 5 points at the end or something. I don't know.
So additional discretionary points at the
Yeah.
end? Okay.
I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's just kind of.
Joseph?
One of the issues, and what we're talking about has been discussed for a number of years, because there's also a political end to this too. We have to be careful of, and we are an advisory committee, so some of what we do, we have to remember it still goes in front of the council, and they can adjust it and rearrange it. And we've had issues with those types of things going on too, when it comes to how we evaluated some of the applications.
Chris?
I understand Dale's point of, if it's 1, 2 items. I'm saying if it's not complete, if they're missing one thing, they're out. And that way it's subjective. You're not saying, okay, well, you only missed 1, so you get to go on, but I didn't complete 2 of them, so I don't get to go on. I'm saying if they have not completed it, and it's a pretty simple grant application, that if it's not complete, it gets tossed. They just don't get funded.
Fred?
Part of the problem is that these agencies have a lot of turnover, and a lot of this stuff is done with volunteer work, and it's really tough to have cut and dry policy on an agency that has all new people again, or they have volunteers, and we're not working with professional agency grant writers here for the most part, and that's kind of what we're up against.
Yes, Chris?
If an agency wants to get funded, then they simply read it, and staff gives them the opportunity to talk to them. And don't you have a class?
There's a workshop that anybody interested in applying has to attend, so they get kind of the instructions and guidance that we have on the application. Yeah.
Well, then maybe during that class, if this goes into effect, they're simply told, if it's not complete and somebody signs off on it in the agency, it's a very simple read or flip through pages, make sure your budget's there, make sure your compliance documents are there. I've written many a grant, and I was just very disappointed. It looked like some of them were thrown together 5 minutes before they had to be turned in, and nobody really looked at them. And it bothers me when we have agencies who do the work and turn in a good application, and they don't get fully funded because somebody else just simply turned in some pages, and they're going to get money regardless because they turned in a few pages. I just have a real issue with it.
Yes, Elizabeth?
Well, I just want to mention the good thing is with this committee is there are 13 members on it, correct? 15?
At the moment.
Okay, 15. And so you've got 15 people making an educated decision on them. So it's not one person. So that's really a plus. And all of us are looking at these applications with a different eye, or maybe even a little bit more history maybe that a person's had who served longer. But I think this past year, and I do want to say it deserves to be mentioned again, that the new members on this committee have brought a lot of positive opinions and viewpoints that I think has helped me look at the agencies in a different light. But again, it's not one or two people that make the final decision. It is the entire committee.
Joseph?
And this is just general information. Isn't there a checklist that they're supposed to complete?
Each application does include a checklist. It has on the first page all the items that they're due to turn in. I think, and when they turn it in with the boxes checked, I think sometimes maybe there isn't a double check to make sure that the things that they check the boxes for are physically actually there. Or in the example I think that you gave, they just accidentally, or they completed they thought they completed the budget and they didn't, or they didn't save it or something. So the budget ended up being blank and it shouldn't have been. So, so yeah, there's a checklist that they can and they do turn in, but maybe they don't always make sure everything's actually there. If I'm understanding your point.
Joe?
Well, and the nice thing is, and I don't know if you did this on yours when you went through it, but if it does bother you quite a bit, you do have the option at the end of that survey to say, no, you don't think this organization should be funded. And that is duly noted throughout the scoring process. I think that does get taken into account with the final score, does it not?
It doesn't impact the score, but it is a discussion item on allocation night.
Okay.
How many CAC members, if any did, said no, the agency shouldn't be funded. At the time that the matrix was developed, the feeling was if somebody had said no, they shouldn't be funded, in theory they should have very low scores from that person, and that would be the thing that would affect the funding. So only if you tie your scores to the fact that you said no would the score be affected.
Tammy?
I just want to say, I kind of agree with Chris. If they're not going to put the time and effort to turn in a quality package, then why are we accepting them to begin with? So maybe we need to move up the deadline, and we look, and if they're not completed, we return them, we give them a date, and if they don't get it back in that date, or if it still comes back incompleted, then they're done. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's volunteers or what they're doing it. there's a director on every single one of these organizations, and if that director can't take the time to go over that and make sure that it's complete, then maybe they need to not get money that time around, and then maybe they'll make sure it's complete the next time.
One thing I will say is that for the last few years, we've been looking for a way to get our application submitted online. So, through a system of one kind or another, where they would have to upload an item. So if there's 30 things they have to turn in, they have to have uploaded something for each of those 30 things, and the system won't let you turn it in if you're missing something. Or likewise, if it's, you know, if the application is due at noon, it won't accept it at 12:01. You know, so there are tools out there that could be used that way. The problem is just, of course, money. Those are tools that cost money, and as we know, our admin budget isn't unlimited. But we could revisit that discussion and see if there's something we can research over the summer and see if there's a tool out there we could use. That's something we on the staff side can do to maybe bring you back information, maybe like when we meet again in the fall and start talking about it, to see if we were able to find something that might work. Because things change over the, you know, course of a year or two. So the last time we talked about it, there wasn't a good option, but maybe now there is. So.
Joseph?
Don't some of the other not-for-profit funders already have something like that in place where it has to be, the application has to be completed by a certain date and time, and if it's after that, they're locked out of the application process?
Yeah, I believe that those are services that you belong to. So it's a software or website that you subscribe to that gives you that functionality. So there may very well be other funders that, you know, have the resources to pay for those things. So could be.
Aren't they date stamped when they are turned in?
Yeah, we do date stamp them. We physically date stamp them.
Okay, but I'm saying it would be with the computer would date stamp when it received that too.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the time is not as much of an issue as it is making sure that the rest of the application is complete.
Yeah, and I will say too, from past experience, more so with like our bidding system, we've had problems in the past where my example about needing to upload, so you have 10 items you have to turn in, you have to have uploaded something for each of those 10 items. We have had issues in the past where someone bidding on an issue uploaded something, but it wasn't the right something. So there still will be a scenario where perhaps there would be a decision needed to be made, because it could be they uploaded something in error and it wasn't actually the thing asked for. So if you had to upload a budget and you uploaded accidentally a letter of support twice and the budget didn't get in there, it's foreseeable that the system could accept it even though it actually wasn't complete. So there could, even with a software solution, be a component of human error that the group would still have to address. I'm just putting that out there just as a warning. That's true. That's true. That's very true. Good point. Taken. Anything else on this topic? And we'll look at the software and bring that back to the group when we meet again and think about if that's a route that we can A, afford to, or B, if there's any good solutions for us. Okay.
All right. Next order of business is plan for summer meetings.
Okay. In your packet, the very last thing on the very last page, if you recall, we used to do summer presentations, and kind of attention to that had fallen off, and interest in it had fallen off. So we experimented one year making it optional and didn't get very many takers. Last year, the decision was made just to forego the summer presentations. So as we were putting together the agenda for this meeting, I was kind of, every month when I put together the agenda, I always look ahead to the next month so that I can kind of forewarn you of what I think we'll be talking about next month. And I kind of realized that unless something pressing would arise, I don't have anything scheduled for May. So I thought we may want to consider talking about the summer schedule at this meeting to decide if you want to follow the schedule laid out there. So, according to what I foresee on the horizon from the staff side, May and June, unless we have some pressing item arise, I don't think that we would have anything from staff for you to address. The exception to that would be if our allocation comes in and the dollar amount is beyond that plus or minus 15% contingency that you put in last month. So if that would happen, we may have to meet to address that issue. The July meeting, we will need to meet because we'll need to get your feedback on the public input survey and the plan for the meetings. So we would meet the July, though I think that we would probably make it, at your discretion, you can make it 1 week later. July 1st is a Monday. July 4th is the Thursday. So it just depends on if people have weekend travel plans before or after. Or you can keep it the 1st. It's completely your decision. Of how to do that. And then August, if you recall, City Council is setting special meetings with each of the boards and commissions, and the CAC meeting is planned for August 13th. It's midday over in the police community room, so unless something pressing would arise, I don't think we'll have anything for you at the August meeting other than that special meeting. So I think we could cancel our regular meeting and just do the special meeting. And then likewise, September, unless something arises, we don't have anything for you. So we would resume our regular meeting schedule in October at the time that we would be doing local objectives for the next year. So that's the meeting at which we would bring forward the public input meeting information we gathered over the summer, the feedback, bring that back to you and have you talk about local objectives. So from the staff side, I think this is a schedule that works for us, but you are free to accept, reject, or change it in any way that you choose.
Joe?
I would propose that we accept, but we change it to July 8th, so we're not messing around with the 4th of July schedule.
That works fine from the staff side.
Fred?
I would second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is other business.
The only thing I have for you is just a reminder, we have CDBG week coming up the end of April. I know a lot of you work, so you're not able to attend, but if you are able or interested in attending, we do a tour. So we'll be having a bus tour of some of our recent CDBG and home projects, and that is going to be April 23rd. It's a Tuesday at 10 a.m. Will be about 90 minutes. So if any of you can attend, we do have confirmation that Representative Loebsack will be attending with some of his staff people, and we've gotten confirmation from staff for Senator Grassley that they will attend. And we're still working on getting in touch with Senator Ernst's staff. She's had some staff changes apparently, and so Senator Grassley's staff is putting us in touch with her new staff person. So we're working on that. The mayor will also be attending, he confirmed, and then several city council members will likely attend. So especially for new members, it's a really good kind of overview of the programs. It's a celebration that we do every year. Our national organization, the National Community Development Association, sponsors CDBG Week every year. And it's just intended to bring attention to what the money does in our community, what projects it goes into, how it's spent, and the people that it helps. So we will be doing that on the 23rd. And if you can attend, please try to RSVP just so we make sure that, I just don't want the bus to leave without you. Like, if you're planning on coming, we'd like to know who it is that we're waiting for so that we don't leave too early. So that's really the only reason we ask for the RSVP. 10 a.m. It'll be 10 to about 11:30. And we'll have snacks. There will be snacks. Behind City Hall, in the rear parking lot behind City Hall.
Fred?
23rd of what?
April.
April, thank you. And the other question I had is, have we had any updates from HUD at all?
We had a conference call, not on this topic, but they indicated they're still waiting for a response from headquarters. You're welcome.
All right, next item is adjournment. Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Oppose? Motion carries.
Okay, I assume Dawn can hear, so she'll cut the tape. So, thank you, everybody. So I won't see you till July. Have a good